Welcome to COATlectibles. You're here today because you want to best understand how to restore and remove minor scratches from your trading cards and other plastic surfaces. Well, I'm here today to tell you exactly what cards are made of, how a polish works, what comes in our polishing kit, how best to use each individual applicator, the do's and don'ts, and so much more. I'll leave timestamps down in the description so you'll be able to flick through and get the information that you need. But otherwise, stay tuned. We're going to start off by going through what's in our polishing kit. So when our polishing kit arrives, you'll get four things technically. We'll start off with the instructions. So you open this up, and inside this little envelope will be the instructions on how to best use our polish. But if you don't like reading, and that's the reason you're here in this video, just stay tuned and we'll get through those. You will also receive, of course, Experiment 626, our minor polish, in a beautiful little dropper bottle, really easy to apply, and there's enough solution in here to last for countless cards. You will get our lovely microfibre cloths. These are ultra absorbent and amazing for removing that solution from the surface once you've done polishing. They're also great to be laid down as a mat to put your card onto, to be able to grip it whilst you're polishing. And lastly, of course, the polishing swabs. These are great for newbies. We do also offer our polishing blocks, but we don't include them in the kit because these are much more newbie safe kind of thing. So once you understand how to best polish a card and use these, then you can move up and upgrade yourselves to these. These are reusable, which is even better. They're also cheaper than these, but that's why they're a little bit harder to use. They're easier once you get to know how to use them, but we like to start you off on the easy polishing swabs so you get a feel for them and then move your way up to the polishing blocks. They're also better for slabs and things. So that's everything you get in the kit. Let's talk you through how a polish works. So let's start off by talking about what a card is made of and how a polish works. So a card is made up of different layers of cardstock. I think you've got about 3 layers in there. You've got the back layer, the middle layer, and then a top layer. Then you also have an ink layer on the back. This you cannot polish. I mean, you could, but it will bring ink off. We've got our product Mirror Coat, which doesn't bring any ink off or anything. So if you are cleaning the back of the cards, then you can use Mirror Coat for that. The front consists of a holographic layer, so like a sheet of that hollow, shiny, sparkly layer that we see. Then you've got an ink layer over the top, which is the border, the greens, and a bit of the writing. And then over the top of that, you have a semi-transparent and an ink layer as well. And that will have the Pokémon with like the holographic part, sort of like a transparent over the bit that wants to show the hollow layer. And that's what a card consists of. So how does a polish work? A polish basically removes a very, very microscopic amount of the surface. So if you have a scratch, our aim is to remove enough of the surface to reach the bottom of that scratch. So it's no longer a crevice, it's now a flat, even surface. So some of these scratches, I thought this would be a great card because there is a lot of deeper scratches on here. However, there is a lot of minor scratches as well. So we can show to you what we can tackle and what can be made gone. But if a scratch has pierced that top transparent layer, it's pierced the ink layer, and it's even gone as far as going to that holographic layer, you can't polish down enough to that without taking the rest of the ink off. So there is dangers when it comes to using a polish, but we've never had an issue and all of our customers have never had an issue. And as long as you follow this video and the tutorial that I'm showing today, then you will have absolutely no trouble whatsoever. So you're all up to speed on what a card's made of and how a polish works. Shall we get to polishing? So when it comes to polishing, first thing we're going to do is assess the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this one. So we can see there's a lot of deeper scratches, which you probably won't get rid of. Some of these minor ones are quite deep as well, but we'll revive this hollow surface and we will be able to remove a lot of those. So yeah, as you can see, these light ones here, I'm sure we'll get rid of these ones, like that big X. That was likely to remain, but we may surprise ourselves, you never know. So we're going to grab our purple microfiber, lay it down, use that as the mat for us, pop that on there, and then we always recommend wearing gloves, but it's not mandatory. We've got our swab, we've got our Experiment 66 of course, and then another microfiber as well to be able to remove the solution. So what we're going to do is quite simple really. Give it a shake first, make sure it's all mixed up in there. Squeeze the nib a few times. and then put 3 small dobs down. Now, using the polishing swab, we're going to spread the solution first over the face of the card. You get a lot of working time with this solution. It doesn't dry out quickly, and it also has a chemical in there that dries to a gel instead of a salt, so it does take a lot longer for it to evaporate. It also has a lot of lubricity to it, so you can work the solution for a long time and leave it on there. So if you get distracted by the wife or something for dinner's ready and you have to run downstairs quickly, you can do that. But we're going to start by doing circular motions just to spread the solution. Only focusing on the hollow, but the entirety of the hollow. I'll take this time to also explain to you how modern and vintage cards are both different. So as we talked about that transparent layer, there is actually a full transparent layer over modern cards. So they are a lot more resilient and you are very much less likely. It means they're more resilient to scratches and things as well. It's why you don't see so many with paint chipped off on the modern cards as you do the older cards. So we're going left and right and up and down. Doesn't take long. We can do a maximum of sort of 3 passes, I always say to people, but that is considered our first pass. So we're going to buff away the solution. You would have noticed it started to split along the surface. That is because the surface of the card has become so even and so flat that the solution is struggling to pool in one location. So it's already looking a lot better. I'll bring it up to the camera. See that hollow's come to life a bit there, and a lot of those scratches have managed to go actually. This is what I mean about surprising yourself. So the visible scratches really do like to disappear, but if we zoom in, you can still see like that deeper X still there. And a lot of the deeper little ones are still there. But after one pass, that is literally the magic of it. So we'll go for another pass. Because there is still solution in the swab, we don't really need to apply anymore. So we can just go straight back into it. And again, if you are doing a following card, so if you're doing a session of say 5 cards, the next card you go on to, rather than 3 drops, just do 2 or 1 because you still have the solution in the swab. So applying no pressure whatsoever. Pressure is our enemy. The product does the work and the applicator does the work. There we go. Again, it's so easy to remove. Just buffing the surface now. And we've done what we can with this card, and it looks incredible in comparison to where it was. Let's get a closer look again. So again, those deeper scratches, they ain't coming out, but overall, there was a lot of micro scratches that we have disappeared, and visibly to the human eye, it looks minty. Now, is this safe to do before you grade a card? Absolutely. We've never had an issue. We also have all of our customers using cards that are like, we have vendors cleaning their cards so they can sell them at a higher price. We have customers who just want to get their collection looking sparkling so they look great in a binder. And we also have some who are grading their cards, and we've never had a single issue. It's not to say that there won't be. If you leave some residue on there and PSA or Beckett catch that, then they will. But otherwise, this doesn't tamper the surface at all. It literally looks, under a microscope, it looks the exact same as if it hadn't been cleaned, just without all of those scratches on the surface. And that is how to perfectly clean a card. Now the don'ts on this. So, like I say, no pressure needed. If you use too much pressure, you will remove too much of a surface and it will burn through and you'll lose a bit of that ink layer. Don't keep applying. So see, we did 2 passes on this. I could probably still do another pass, but I'm not going to. I'm playing it safe, and it's always better to be safe rather than sorry. But that's about it with the don'ts. It's relatively straightforward and so easy to do. Anyone can do it. So, how do we use the polishing blocks? Let me show you. So we've got our setup the same, but instead of the swab, we've now got our lovely little COATlectibles polishing block. How are these different or better than the swabs? So the key thing is swabs, after a while, you will need to just throw them away. And that breaks my heart So with the polishing blocks, they are really amazing because you can either just dab them on a clean microfiber to get the remaining solution out and absorbed into the ultra absorbent microfiber, or just simply rinse them under cold water, give them a couple of squeezes so it absorbs the water, and again then just pat them dry and then leave them to air dry, and you can use them over and over again, as long as you're not applying too much pressure when you're using them, because if the solution gets far enough into the sponge that it hits that sort of the adhesive layer in there, it will degrade that after time. So they're not going to live forever, but with right maintenance, right care, they will last an incredibly long time. And as they are a lot cheaper than the swabs, it's a no-brainer really. Also, they cover a larger surface area. So we're going to use a slab as an example, because we can just go to town on the entire surface area. But where if it's a card, what you can do is just scrub it up and down like so, or left and right like so. Always be mindful of the edges. This is why it takes more of an expert hand, because if you go over that edge and pull it back, you're then introducing solution into the edge of the card. Is that the end all be all? No, because if solution gets into the edge of the card, all we have to do is pat it dry, put it into a sleeve, and then allow it to sit and dry out. And then it should, not 100% all the time, but most of the time it will just dry back flat. You want to avoid damage and any form of solution getting into the edge of the card. These are still cardboard at the end of the day, so we've got to be careful of that. Now to polishing. Simple and same procedure. However, with a slab, you'll notice a lot of the time when you get slabs, they'll have these downward scratches on them. Fresh from the company. This is from Sint. I can't recommend Sint enough. The labels are beautiful, customer service is amazing, and the slabs just look stunning. However, they do suffer with this downward scratch. I think it's from when they put it into the sleeves. If there's dust particles and things in there, it will scratch it. Plastic scratches plastic. It's the same thing with anything. I won't bore you with details on how scratches are formed and everything. We'll save that for a later video. However, let's get to polishing this. So as we can see, we've got those downward scratches on there. You can see them all. Very annoying. But what we're going to do is we're going to get our 66, give it a shake, give it a squeeze again, and simply apply. As it's a larger surface area, we'll do some 4 big drops. Now on a card, what you'll be doing with this is you'll probably have it at an angle and you'll be going left and right, just if you're being more cautious and careful. So like that. Or you can lay it flat to spread the solution and then just go up and down. So you'll find that these don't absorb the solution as much as the polishing swabs do, but that's what we want, because then more stays on the surface. Like I say, the product is what's doing the polishing. So you want as much of the product on the surface as possible. You do get some satisfying squeaks with these as well, which is amazing. Again, there is no pressure. I'm letting the weight of the block do all of the polishing. And it's just spread the solution up and down, left and right. As it's a slab, you don't need to be as careful as on a card, so I'm just sort of going to town, left and right, up and down. But these are honestly phenomenal for this. And then once you're done polishing, obviously you can apply our other products, Dazzling Gleam, over the top of it, because that will add extra depth of shine and UV protection. And what 626 does as well, it helps the either mirror coat or Dazzling Gleam adhere to the surface even better. So they work hand in hand with one another. But as you can see, it's properly starting to pull up in like the little locations and the little dobs. That means the surface is super flat. Now you can spend as long as you want on a slab, polishing as much as you like. Because obviously you're not going to burn through that plastic layer. You are removing such a microscopically thin layer that you'll never ever burn through the plastic. You literally need to be polishing for hours on end. But again, you can see it really starting to thin out, and what we like to call flashing is the correct terminology for this. So when it flashes on the surface is when it all splits into those little balls. It means the surface is incredibly hydrophobic, because it is so flat and so even. So that'll be enough polishing. So like I say, you can see it only is on the surface of the polishing block. So we're just going to dab it a few times, give it a brush. Make sure it's a clean microfiber, we don't want to introduce any contaminants onto it. And then as you can see, it's ready to go again. Maybe give it a little bit of a wash out as well, but ready to be reused as many times as you like. So we'll get our microfiber. Again, as we did before, buff the surface. And that is looking incredible. Look at that shine. As you can see, those downward scratches there's still a couple, so of course we can do as many passes as we liked, but a lot of them have gone. This card was 626 before it went in there, and now the slab looks as equally as beautiful. And that is how to use our beautiful polishing blocks. Again, no pressure needed. If you're doing a card, 1, 2, 3 passes, never more than that. It's super easy to do. These are incredible, and I cannot recommend them enough. More for the expert, more for the well affluent, well, no, the well experienced card restorer. But they are just incredible. I love these so much. And get your slabs looking like that. Honestly, that's blown me away. Right, so what else can you polish with? Well, actually, you can polish with a microfiber. So let me show you how. So again, same setup. We've got a microfiber cloth as a mat. We've got our 626. We've got our card, which we're going to be polishing. You see there's a lot of downward scratches on this one, and the hollow is looking just a little bit flat. Now, polishing with a microfiber should be last resort. You've run out of swabs, you've not got no blocks. A microfiber is pretty good, however, you will be using your finger in there, and that's not a flat surface. It does work, and it does work really well. Microfibers are incredible for this. However, we don't recommend this all the time. Much better to use a proper applicator. However, it is possible. So let's shake our Experiment 66, give it a squeeze, and pop some dobs down. So same as the swabs and the blocks, we're going to spread the solution first, and just using our finger, use circular motions. So this is sort of how you apply Dazzling Gleam as well. As you can see, the ultra absorbent cloth is absorbing a lot of the solution, so there's not much on the surface. As always, never use much pressure. Just very lightly massage it onto the surface. Keep going, and as you can see, yeah, the microfiber has absorbed a lot of it, but it's still on the tip of there, so as long as you keep that directed point, you're all okay. But yeah, circular motions work best for this. As always as well, I must mention, make sure it's a clean microfiber and you haven't got any other contaminants in there that might damage the surface even more. However, just a nice easy pass like that. Again, to buff off. It's even easier to buff off now because there is literally no solution on there. And that hollow looks much better, like it's come to life again. So the hollow's not looking as anywhere near as flat. Those deeper scratches are remaining. So it doesn't work as well as a swab or a block, but it does still work. So last resort purposes, if you just have a microfiber, you can use yourself a little microfiber. And that's how to use our applicators in Experiment 626. So thank you for joining us here today. I hope I've given you some reassurance, some trust and some education in using Experiment 626. If you ever have any questions, reach out to us on Instagram at COATlectibles, where we'll always be happy to help and guide you in the right direction. Until next time, love you all. Mwah!